Hello, welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. I am sitting in the Steamforge Games studio here in Manchester, which is a little bit far away from home.
It is for you and it is for us.
Yeah, it was.
We're from London.
A bit of a trip, but I'm here with the lead designer and the creative director, and we're going to have a chance to go through some community questions about this behemoth of a game. Now, Alex over on Board Game Co. actually has a forward-looking interview, I believe, with both of you.
Yes.
That's going to be released at some point, probably a little bit after this video, that's talking about the progression of this game, what's coming with the Kickstarter. For me, I ended up posting a post to my Patreon community, who are getting top billing here. They're getting priority.
Good.
I'm a shameless shill for my Patreons. And also to the YouTube audience. And so all the questions I have here are actually going to be sourced from those communities. And then it'll lead into some good conversations, I think, about the game, about what the audience is already curious about, and some answers that I already have, but I don't think you've actually shared with the rest of the world yet.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm looking forward to this.
So we'll see.
Yeah, should be
We'll
good.
see.
Yep.
Okay, so
No particular order.
I was going to say,
I have them. I have them all jotted down here, and I'm actually going to give. I know I just said I was going to give preference to my Patreon community, but I'm not, because someone.
I can't help but laugh.
But then if you
know.
name them, they now will feel guilty enough to join your Patreon, which is...
Or am I? Where is it? Where's the?
Probably an
Here,
excellent
no, I
thing
am.
for
I
them to
am
do.
still. Raphael Stalker, right up here at the top.
Join the Patreon.
Asked for. You'll see why this was a good intro question.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. I did just write all these down. So he wanted elevator pitch and price point.
Now I always ramble endlessly at this, so I'm going to leave it to Matt.
So it's a very good opportunity to say what is this game, right?
What is this game? So the elevator pitch is by far and away the hardest thing to ever come up with for any game whatsoever.
So it's a good question.
See how
That is
did see that.
an outstanding question. I don't know if I've got a really succinct elevator pitch, so I'm hoping, having recently been to New York and gone to the top of the Empire State Building, I probably have about 6 or 7 minutes to talk about this game. Because that is a long elevator ride.
That is an ambitious elevator ride. I mean, how about this? You take your 15 seconds,
Yes.
then I'll take mine, and we'll see who has better elevator pitch.
Okay.
And I just played it, in the last day.
I like your style.
So
No, that sounds good. So I think the key points that I would use to construct an elevator pitch for this is talking about exploring the lands between your way. They will be familiar and yet uniquely special to you. You will craft and discover narratives and stories and build your own tales of your exploits as you explore the lands between and you rise in power, and you are taking on familiar looking enemies along your way in a variety of different combat encounters that really scale very hard, depending on how many there are of you, and also depending on how big and scary the creatures are that you're fighting.
okay. Elden Ring, the board game, is a narrative, asymmetric, boss battling adventure game, right? Spawned from the video game Elden Ring, which some people are familiar with. There's going to be 2 phases in this board game. One's going to deal with exploring through tiles, picking up resources, talking to NPCs, and journeying on various side quests that could result in your untimely death. You're also going to be going on your own solo fighting encounters, using a really innovative quest book system that lets you show down with various different mobs without taking too much time away from the other players. That's all going to accumulate in, well, the boss battling system. About maybe 1/3 of the game is spent on this final stage where you dive together into this giant map book. Everything combines, and you take all the skills, resources, and whatever little body parts you've been able to collect along the way, and utilize them to break down any one of a number of beasts, all the way journeying to the end of, well, I guess, a pile of boxes.
It will be definitely a pile, I think, is a unit of
the correct
measurement.
term?
Yeah.
Decent elevator pitch.
I like yours more
We've
than
got
mine.
some framework
Yeah,
for
you've
it.
got a future in
The
this.
second question here was price point. Do we have anything we can share about that yet?
We've already covered that, I think, in social posts. I think that's already out there by the time.
So it's already gone out, so we can
Well,
just
it's good, so
remind
you can
people.
talk about it now. Yeah, what's going on?
Oh, that's going to require me to remember numbers.
There's more people watching this than the social.
I
post,
almost
think.
certainly
That's
is.
true.
I'll help you out. There's
It's 'cause
three.
my
There's
thumbnail was
yeah.
great. I'm not sure what it is
So
yet,
there
but
are
it's definitely
three.
someone being
So
beheaded.
there are.
yeah.
That's right. No, there are 3 different pledge levels.
Okay.
The first one is your entry level pledge, and that one is 89. And
Yep.
you've got the next one is your core pledge, and that is 179. And the last one is your all-in, which is, as you've said, a pile of boxes. Pile of boxes?
A steve of boxes,
A
as we
steve
like
of
to call
boxes,
it. Yeah.
which is 429.
Yeah, which it's going to be some
I mean, you get
incredible sculpts, minis.
yeah.
It's a lot of content.
Well, it's, I mean, if nothing else, and this is the stat that blew my mind and also scared me a little bit, is there's 2,500 plus cards in that all-in pledge. That's a lot of cards.
There's a lot of story. There's a lot of narrative. There's a lot of minis in there.
There's a
And I
lot
think
of
one of the
everything.
things that's interesting when we do talk about the pile of boxes is when you do look at that wonderful box there with a spot gloss finish.
Yep.
That is a Kickstarter exclusive box design.
Yeah.
Absolutely is. You can see that it has a particular size and shape for
perfectly into
for a
a
Swedish
cube.
furniture company that
As
we know and love.
every board game company should.
We agree,
Period.
and we are very pleased that we now got a Kallax size box going on here.
And also, just on that note, actually, because I should say this, you did mention the limited edition box. All of your expansions and everything else from the Kickstarter will come in that same finish. So you will actually
Nice.
have
Oh,
like
that's
the
gonna
full
It'll be
set
an
together.
entirely matching
Yeah.
set.
Yeah, you've got it.
It's going to look mint.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Walter Mock says, I can't
Hello,
back
Walter.
any more games. Will this tempt me?
I mean, firstly, we know that the first bit is not true.
We know that feeling, though, right? Like,
Oh, no,
everyone
absolutely.
knows that feeling.
Yeah.
The honest answer is that's a question up for Walter. But that said, I don't think they'll be disappointed.
I think if you're a fan of Elden Ring and you're a fan of tabletop games, when those two worlds are going to collide in this one unique instance. So if you're willing to run the risk of missing out on that, then sure. But I don't know how I would possibly do that if I was in
Yeah.
Walter's position.
Let's use a slight my elevator pitch, which is nowhere near as strong as either of your two,
Okay.
which is very much Elden Ring the board game is a celebration of your favourite game. It's a new way to interact with your favourite
I
game.
like that.
And it's really going to be something where if you're an Elden Ring fan, then quite frankly, this is absolutely 100% for you.
I mean, one of the things that I
Nicely
always
put.
find exciting when I have the opportunity to see behind the scenes to the community that's developing a game and working on a project is just how obsessed and absorbed members of your team are in Elden Ring. Like, the board game is cool, and they're thrilled to be working on it. But also, they're just the type of people that want to play the game, period.
Yes.
And this is just an added pleasure. Malzarath says, what makes this stand out among other games like Kingdom Death or Gloomhaven?
I think one of the most obvious features, and
Good
you
games
mentioned
to be
it,
compared to.
I mean, great company to be in. I think it's the combat system and the way it blends perfectly in with the exploration system. And one of the key design pillars we had was maintaining respect for players' time at the table. And I think it's incredibly important when you're designing a product that's there to entertain people is to be mindful of the time that they are sharing with your product, and making sure that time is well spent. And for me, when you're playing games where your downtime is too long, my mind wanders, my phone might come out, etc., etc. And I think the way that we've balanced the exploration with the combat, as it's going on, you feel engaged with what other people are doing as they're exploring. You have a vested interest in them, and they have a vested interest in your combat. Yeah. They're keeping an eye on you, making sure that if you're getting into trouble, they can jump into your combat, help you out. And I think that is a really innovative blend, and the way that we've dealt with the combat is also really exciting.
I think your point about respecting the audience's time is point on for Gloomhaven, right? Pulling that box out without a storage solution or organization tray,
right.
And even like setting up a scenario can be the thing that keeps me from playing it.
Yes.
Whereas right now, my experience here, I mean, this is a big game. It still requires some time and some care to get it organized and set up, but right away I'm able to like drop this down on the table and begin playing a lot quicker than a lot of the other big box games.
I think a lot of games, I think it's I don't know if it's a problem that can be very easily solved when you first buy a game and you have to unwrap it and pop all the tokens out. Yeah. So once you've got over that overhead that we have to pay for any game we all pick up, at that point it's how fast can you get from box opening to you playing the game. And again, comes back to that respect for people's time, is looking at the way that we construct the decks, the way that the decks are maintained, and therefore they grow and evolve as you play through the campaign, makes it very easy that we finish with a particular deck at the end of the night, we take it, we put it in the box. We come back the next day, we pull that out, and when we're playing within a couple of minutes.
And I'll tell you this, so far based off my experience, and this is coming from a kid that entered the hobby through Kingdom Death, anyone that knows my channel,
Right.
so far based off my experience, I liked the 3-player of this more than I like 3-player Kingdom Death. I
Okay,
love
that's pretty
2-player
cool.
and solo, but when you get up to the higher player counts, I find that it bogs down a lot.
Yeah.
And it's hard to weed your way through it. I really enjoyed how seamless this was before exploration, how everyone's actions still felt like it mattered in the exploration phase,
Yes.
and how that all accumulated into a interesting but still meaningful boss battle. We felt like we had to work together, and
Fantastic.
I liked that.
Yeah, that's great.
We spent a lot of time making sure it feels like an interactive experience. That
Yeah.
there's no downtime, as you mentioned. That everyone feels engaged.
I wasn't waiting for anyone either. It was always back to my turn, and yet it was never my, everyone felt that way.
And the thing to kind of allude to as the game kind of unfolds, the scenario that you played is one of the very early scenarios that's there to teach you the core loop, the core mechanics. And I don't know in your playthrough whether you got to see the NPC pop up and give you his little narrative story. Did
We
you get that?
We didn't accomplish it.
Yeah.
That was the
accomplish it.
triangle. That was the triangle we were looking
That's
for.
by design, isn't it?
It's worth pointing out that was that you didn't see this, but the sole focus of our playthrough came to look for that green triangle that we were
We
missing.
spent every last action we could trying to find
That's
it.
to the point where they
fantastic.
even went up to the Beastman of Faramazula to ask if he had a green
Give me that.
triangle. Yeah,
But I get, so
he didn't.
that tiny frustration would then result in a much bigger payoff in 2 or 3 scenarios time where it does appear and you go, it's that. And that's just a single narrative thread that can appear. So now when you're talking to the merchants, you're investigating different locations that appear around the map, discovering that there's actually these secondary
we're getting
quest lines to
sprouts,
follow.
right? Like it's the little buds from the vine that's actually going to tangle itself up to the top.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited to see what promises
be good.
you pull out. Let's keep going with Mouseraf. We've got 2 more quick questions from him, and then we're moving on to the main audience. What is the essential experience of Elden Ring you are capturing? So thinking about the video game and what you love about it, what was it about that when it comes down to something boiled down that you wanted to bring here to the tabletop?
I think so. The way I particularly enjoy playing Elden Ring, after I did what a lot of people do, which is almost an unfocused exploration. But then when I wanted to, looking through the list of the dungeons that I haven't found yet, right, I'm gonna go to them, and so I'm going to an area. I know roughly where it is. I'm going to search around until I
Did
find
the Wikipedia thing to find out kind of
it.
general?
Yeah. I mean, it's. I'm time poor, like a lot of people, and sometimes getting a YouTube vid to kind of point me in the right direction is a helpful shortcut.
Yeah.
But it really kind of gave me that sort of focused sense of I'm journeying to a place. I am still exploring the world as I'm going along. I do occasionally get sidetracked by this thing that pops up or that thing that I see over there. But then having that focused experience on finding the dungeon, clearing the dungeon, taking on the boss, dying, taking on the boss, dying, taking on the boss, and now finally realising that I can't attack it when it's got 2 slivers of health left, and being successful.
Did you do it in 3?
I mean, once.
Bragging. Yeah, bragging. What about you? What are you looking at in terms of Elden Ring as an IP and as a video game? And
I mean, one of the things we always try to do is recreate the emotive experience of what it is to play any game. If we're looking at any licensed IP, it's what's the emotive response that you have when you interact with that original game? How do we recreate that on the tabletop? And one of the most succinct examples I can think of, actually, I talked about this a little bit in some of our designer diaries, but for me, playing Elden Ring, you walk out at the start of the game, you see this huge vista in front of you. Yeah, you see all the ruins in the distance, you see the glowing Erdtree, all sorts of different bits and pieces. This friendly-looking knight fellow down to the side, all these different ideas.
Seems all right, doesn't
he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
So you see all of this different stuff, and you're like, right, I want to go and explore all of this. I want to go and discover. And so much of that game you spend riding around, exploring, trying to see what's out beyond the horizon. And then the moment that you find yourself, facing an enemy for the first time, whoever that is, whether it's the friendly knight I mentioned, whether it's somebody else, or the cube, it's going away. So when
I was like, I couldn't turn towards you all because there was a cube in the way.
So it's that bit where as soon as you get into that combat, the whole thing just zooms down, and suddenly now you've lost that horizon, because instead you're now just looking very intimately at it's a very intimate combat between you and the creature in front of you, whatever that may be. And it's really zooming into that experience and replicating that. And I think that's something that our battle stance system and our battle grid systems really managed to emulate really, really well. And I think that's a key element that I'm really proud of with what we've done and achieved with Elden Ring.
Yeah. Let's see here. Favorite and least favorite part of the game as it stands right now?
A video game?
Of the board game. For you,
I'll go with favourite, and I'll riff off Sherwin's last point there. So my favourite thing that we've achieved, and when I play the game, is that that layering of what appear to be fairly small decision points in the combat system, but when you layer them all together, really feels quite deep and complex. But then we've managed to distill a combat into a short number of interactions, and they all feel meaningful as a result of that. So you end up with a really punchy experience where I'm not just flipping cards and taking models off the table and that's kind of it. I really genuinely have to play well to be successful at it, but it doesn't take forever. And I'm then back on the exploration and going around, and I'm really very proud of what the team have done with how they've pulled that experience together. So we've got a really tight, punchy combat experience that still has a huge amount of depth.
I think I could riff off of that, but I'm going to go in a slightly different direction just to give us more balanced sort of approach.
Yeah.
I think for me, my favourite part is the social contract between the players at the table. I've sat through a whole bunch of playthroughs at this stage with people outside, and it's been amazing to see how positive the reaction's been. Everyone who's sit down and played said, yeah, this was an absolute blast, I've loved this game. But the thing that I've seen universally across everyone playing has been that they've all sat down and there's so much discussion going on at the table. Oh, what are we trying to achieve? Oh, if you go and do this, then I can jump out of the way here. Yeah, whether we're fighting the boss, and if you stand in that lane, then it won't be able to hit you, and then I'll be able to jump in and attack. Oh, I'll sidestep. You're grinning because you can see you can remember yourself doing this. Yeah, it's whether you're the map. If you go over there, get that stake of Marika, then that's cool. I'll go get these resources, and then we'll be able to pull it together. It's that. It's the bit where, remember I said about celebration? It's something where everyone's come together and that we love Elden Ring and let's just enjoy this game together because that's what we're here to do. And I think that has been so wonderful to see.
So let me rephrase the least favorite part of this question. We have a series on my channel called Right For You, Wrong For You. So let's pose it like that. Like right now, looking at this, I always tell people, like I want everyone to buy your game. I do.
It's nice.
Selfishly, I want that for you. I want no one that won't like your game to buy your game.
Yep.
Both of those statements are true, 100%. And so looking at this and thinking through, like, who is this maybe not right for? Like, who, when it comes to the game, what about this system leaves room for people to maybe not enjoy this as much?
Well,
it's a hard question for publishers, right?
It's a really tough question, and I hope this answer isn't too political in its dodging. But I think people who don't enjoy this kind of game, and by that I mean an RPG-driven exploration-style game.
Sure.
People who don't enjoy tactical combat with miniatures, and prefer something, a different tabletop experience. We're unashamedly an exploration game with with tactical miniatures combat. And so if that doesn't float your boat, if those 4 or 5 words don't float your boat, then this will not appeal to you, however much you might like Elden Ring the video game. But if you do like miniatures and you do like that crunchy combat and the sense of exploration and the big boss fights, well then I think we've got something for you.
Because the group and I were talking, and it's interesting, one of us, Nick, from the Brothers Morph, had no reference for Elden Ring the video game.
Right.
And so was saying, does he like this as a board game? And the answer was, he did. He thought it was brilliant, right? And then the other two of us, me and Matthew...
I actually bumped into him after he did his playthrough, and I said, how did it go? He said, hey... So I'm just about to prove myself a complete fibber, but he said, I normally just play Euro games, but I love this. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But,
well, that's the other conversation that we had, is we were talking about people who are coming from the video game into the board game space for the first time. Maybe they don't know if they like tactical miniatures games.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of games I would tell them to maybe not be the first thing they pick up, unless they're head over heels in on it, right?
Yeah.
Unless they're really committed, blindingly so, like I was with Kingdom Death when I discovered it for the first time. I don't think that's this game. From my experience so far, and it doesn't mean they're getting a palette of boxes yet.
Yeah.
But from the way you're approaching not only the core boxes but also the little standalone modules, this is something that feels like it can introduce people to this style of gaming.
Something that we've got very good at. I feel actually quite unashamedly proud of this. I don't think that's an overstatement either. Something we've got very, very good at ever since we started with Resident Evil and Dark Souls is understanding our audience. A lot of them haven't experienced tabletop games because they are fans of Elden Ring or whatever the IP is. And as a result, this is something where we've always taken on board. Our philosophy has always been, certainly mine and Matt's anyway, certainly been, we're going to make a game that we can teach you to play in 5 minutes. And there's the overused cliche of simple to learn, difficult to master. But the answer is we make games that are really straightforward to pick up and learn and intuitive once you've got a couple of the rules down. Actually mastering them, actually playing them requires you to develop strategic depth, but that's something where it's not just this wall of information that you need to absorb straight up.
It's like
something where we'll slowly tutorialize it across to you.
It's kind of like Elden Ring with their, prologue
very
pit.
much so.
You could jump in and learn the basics in about 5 minutes, or you could just skip it and hit some buttons until you figure it out.
But it's me, when I was trying to explain we call it the action point system or the action economy.
Yeah.
So it's 3 actions. So what can I do in combat? You can draw a card, you can play a card, or you can move. Great. What else can I do?
That's what you can do.
That's
Trust
what you can
me,
do.
It's enough.
And that's enough.
Yeah.
So we can teach you the game in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But it will take you many, many hours to get real good at it.
And that's part of the enjoyment of it. That's the rewarding part of playing it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So, a question from Nazdak here. I'm so sorry for butchering all these names, by the way. I just want to get that out of the way.
It's a cool name. We like it.
Asking about solo mode. Elden Ring, the video game, is a solo experience-ish. There's some arguments against that, but really it's a solo experience. Most of the time you're exploring yourself. You're going on this grand adventure.
Yep.
Is this gonna be compelling solo? And if so, why and how? Like, how have you factored in solo play to this?
Well, the game scales throughout many different stages. We've already seen it in our playthrough where we looked at how much health, for example, the Beastman of Farum Azula has. We also looked at how many attacks it's making per round.
It's one per character that's playing in, right? It's a binary.
It's a very straightforward,
Totally scales,
simple to understand scaling. In terms of exploration, that's been purposely designed so that scaling isn't quite as important when there, because that's why you have rounds and that's where the tokens go on.
Every character is exhausting a token, which means if I'm playing solo, I get 10 opportunities to act as opposed to everyone sharing the same group.
So you don't feel when you're playing solo, you don't feel that you're playing a different version of the game. You're playing the same game, you're just playing it in a solo mode. And I think when we play games solo, I mean, it's not my preferred method. I like coming around a table with friends and playing games. But I do play games solo so I can understand what that experience is. And when I do it, it actually does transform how I interact with a game. It's much more about the stories coming alive. And because it's just me, because I can play it at my pace, I can take my time to really read the story, really start imagining what's going on and interacting with it. Well, then I think for the solo players of this game, that luxury of time, they're not being chivied along by everyone else around the table, you can really start to kind of interact with the NPCs and those emergent storylines.
A couple of points on that. So one, mechanical, which is, we've also introduced things like Spirit Ashes, for example. Those are things where you can add in, not exclusive to solo, but there's an element of those which are something that's upgraded for solo play, as an example of something very simple. But truthfully said, solo games aren't new to us. If I can think of a whole bunch of games in our back catalogue, we've had solo modes in all of our Resident Evil games, in Horizon, in Bardsung, actually a very celebrated one in Bardsung. Like, there's a whole bunch of different effort we put into solo modes. So this is something where we're not just newcomers to this.
Got history you're standing on.
We absolutely have embraced this.
So. However, like to put a sharp edge on it though, the game. This is a wonderful opportunity to play Elden Ring cooperatively.
Yeah.
And so I would always prefer that, but I think the solo experience is really important.
Yeah, but you're also not a solo gamer. It's a shocking number of people that are diving into these systems that love playing with friends. I love playing with friends.
Yeah.
But I usually play, like when I'm going through something like this, a larger campaign, I usually play some degree solo or just with a friend. Now, when you're thinking about the actual balance of the game, and this is a question coming from me on top of the solo mode, because there's so much collaborative effort when it comes to the characters that are playing, they're bouncing off of each other when it comes to positioning on some of the big combat tracks and stuff. Are you suggesting that people play through solo mode, solo character, or potentially still venturing in, playing two characters, just running like a two-player version of the game?
I think that's a player preference.
Yeah, it's dealer's choice.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I mean, the game will support either.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we had a chat about this earlier, and you said, well, actually, I think my personal, again, my dealer's choice is I prefer to play two, because I like the interaction between multiple characters, and that for me is what the exciting part is. Cool, if that's your approach, or if you're personally someone who goes, I like the idea of one tarnished, and that's what I'm doing.
I'm more of a role player. I want to have a character, and I want to be
one
that
tarnish
character.
should be able to punch through
100%
this game.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, not punch through maybe, but at least punch at.
And roll and block.
No, let's be realistic. Punch, die. Punch, die.
Yeah, that's fair.
Die.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's Elden Ring.
All right, we're getting into the the hook of questions here. They're not in any particular order. I thought I was gonna
Is this a quick fire round?
read through them. They can be however long you want, but
okay.
We'll see. We'll dive in. I'm happy for some of them to be
I will
speedy.
find out.
I wanted to give the audience due chance though. Ace V 3. I'm horrible at video games. Will the board game
Make me better at Elden Ring?
No. Will the board game? So they said they're horrible at video games, but they love the lore, the world, the everything about Elden Ring. Is the board game going to give them the same difficulty issues that the video game does? I mean, the video game is known for being unforgiving and unrelenting, and there are pathways around, but it usually involves a bit of grinding.
I think our game is certainly one thing we've definitely tried to drive into is removing a big element of what makes things grindy with this game. I think it's a fair statement, but at the same time, our game is just as harsh, but in a more forgiving way. And I think that sounds a weird way of saying it. It's you still will die a whole bunch of times, but that's not something that feels like it's such a massive tempo here, or oh god, I want to rage quit away from this. I'm so angry, kind of thing. From the machine.
I also think it's flexing different muscles. If I'm perfectly honest with you, it's like saying I'm really bad at catching a ball. Would I be good at football? Actually, that doesn't translate, does it? Would I be good at soccer? Not so much.
Yeah.
But it's the same kind of thing.
Remember your audience.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I think playing a board game, if you're playing a video game in real time, you don't have the luxury of kind of going, oh, it looks like he's about to attack me. I wonder what I should do. Oh, too late, you're gone. Whereas in this, if you are playing, you've got that little bit of extra time for you to have a little think about what you're going to do. So if you use your mind, then
Well, then you can go to the narrative part of the, I think, save screen, menu screen, then narrative, and it'll pause the game.
Just to pause the game, yeah.
It's an important lesson learned. Dominic Hills says, replayability, question mark. Does the map and bosses resolve the same every time, or is there going to be areas where you have a reason to continue journeying through or going on different paths if something's just kind of hard to get through?
I definitely think we should talk about those, the way that the quests are clustered. So you don't have to follow a linear campaign line. So you can choose which quest you want to go on. And let's say you've gone on one particular quest and you see something. It's a bit unusual. You don't really know what's going on there. Fine, doesn't really seem to do anything. You go off, and then later on in a different quest, you realise that might have been a thing that was actually useful for this quest line I now have.
Yep.
You want to go back. And a bit like Elden Ring, or maybe it's just me because I'm getting old now, but I'm like, where was that thing again? And I'll just sort of bimble about for a little while and explore the land. And there will be reasons to kind of back and forth. The map will be different each time you visit a location. So it will feel fresh.
Yeah, and the way that you interact with your quests, and side quests in particular, can change dramatically. I mean, we talked a bit about evolving decks elsewhere. You will have decks, they will evolve. They will evolve based on player decisions. When you encounter things, if you encounter some things, and that will change around your experience every time. So absolutely, it's something where, hey, I played through the campaign once, it ended this way, and I went through a whole bunch of different stuff. I may play it again, and let's say we don't help patches, as the obvious example this time around. Oh, actually, we didn't get this quest, we did this thing instead.
Yeah.
Whole different experience.
Yeah.
Psycho. How big is this game? The core box looks massive. What are we talking about in terms of scale?
29.7 centimeters by 29.7 centimeters.
Yeah, the game is huge. I mean, I imagine by now at this point, people will have seen the all-in pledge level graphics, and it's like a procession. There's so much stuff inside of this box. Like again, I already referenced it earlier. 2,500 cards. Like there's a whole stack of quest books in this thing.
How many minis for the group in?
This is the point where I'm trying to remember. That's a lot.
It's like a couple hundred plus, right?
It is a lot of minis. Yeah, I think it's measured with noughts on the end rather than.
Well, we have like desperately gesticulating kind of put people off camera telling us.
1,004.
At this point, you could just say it.
104.
104.
104.
In the base. In the base.
Not including unlocks. No, that's the all-in.
In the all-in. 104, not including unlocks.
Highly secretive unlocks.
Okay.
104 minis.
It's a lot of.
There's a lot of minis.
When they're this size.
They are not all that size before.
I believe they all. Yeah. This
in.
is standard size. This is actually smaller than it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Well, that's a Godric soldier, obviously.
It scales up even from here. So
yes.
that's what you're.
They wouldn't let us make the model we made that was like this tall off the table. Oh,
I'm
so
into
that
it.
almost got vetoed.
AJ Sign. Upkeep between turns and teardown/setup. What's the deal here when
Oh
it
yeah,
comes to
okay.
like
So between turns,
pace of people playing and then actually getting the game to the table?
so I think let me just marshal my thoughts. So between each quest, you will go to the round table hold and you will do essentially your shopping trip, which is where you also do your housekeeping. So there will be some tiles that will come out of the exploration stack and some new ones that will go in, and the same will be true for some of the other narrative cards and some of the other decks. The resource decks that you explore will also get modified, but depending on what you're doing with the merchants in the round table hold. So if you're unlocking certain recipes, it means that new drops are available to you, they will go in. Once you've done that housekeeping part of that game, and everyone else has kind of finished their shopping trip and leveling up and all that good stuff, then those decks then become the decks you then use for the next scenario, for the next quest. It may well be at that point, because the time is late, you just drop them in the box, and then the very next time you come to play, you literally lift them out, and then you're ready to go again. Cool. So there is no setup time as long as you do your housekeeping, and the housekeeping, because it's small and incremental and between each quest, shouldn't be too egregious. It should be very, very natural part of the shopping trip.
And then time between player turns, I found the average time was maybe 15 to 30 seconds, especially once we were up and running. Is that accurate towards what you guys have experienced, or is it maybe on the longer end of that?
Yeah.
No, you're there.
We built the action economy math revolves around a 60-second turn.
Okay.
Is
Constant
what we work
player
on.
engagement.
Yeah, and that's definitely what it felt like. Marvin P90, are we getting Ranni or Patches miniatures?
Not. Never say never.
I mean, we'd be mad not to, right?
I mean, that's what he's indicating.
I mean,
He also-
that's what I'm inferring from what he's saying.
He also leveraged a conversation, a whole tirade about how Dark Souls didn't have one of his favorites. So, you know.
Yeah. As Sherman says, never say never. I think I think one of the very hardest things for us to do during the course of the design and development of this was, because we have a great relationship with Bandai Namco and because we have a great relationship with From Software, but we're also incredibly respectful of where we sit in their list of priorities. So we get an amount of time with these people.
Every request costs something.
And every request costs something. So the hardest thing was prioritizing what we wanted to get in and what we wanted really to get in and what actually isn't going to get in.
But I think this is a good, and I know you can't necessarily answer this question. I saw it on both your faces when I asked. He did ask it, so I felt it was a fair pick.
No.
It is a good opportunity, though, to talk about how you all, as a company, actually approach and will be approaching this campaign. There is opportunity for the community to speak into this game in a way that is very true to crowdfunding and to Kickstarter as a platform.
Absolutely.
And so this question, while I don't have a solid answer from either of you, the reason why it's a never say never is because the community's
You're
is
very
a
correct.
thing that
There is time reserved for conversations such as those, but they will all need to be prioritized because we are anticipating a lot of ideas and a lot of feedback, and it will be a case of working our way
So
through.
one question won't be enough, but if thousands of people say,
yes.
Well, two things. The first one is, I certainly think you're going to encounter both of those characters. Even if you don't encounter them as miniatures, they will definitely be people you encounter during your campaign.
Oh, that's
anyway.
absolutely true.
And the second point being that I think on our previous campaigns, and exactly as you say, in the spirit of Kickstarter, we very much enjoy and embrace that kind of aspect, but of things. But also, I think anybody who's familiar with our Kickstarters, especially someone like our Resident Evil crowd, for example, or Monster Hunter, whatever else, they can certainly attest to we are very receptive to what our community talks about, and we are very much listening to and always trying to get the best for what our products are.
it's one of my favorite things. I'm already anticipating paying attention to the daily goals that we have.
Oh, please do.
And picking one that I personally am invested in,
Yeah.
and then leveraging my
Well, and
audience on the back of it.
Oh no, please do. I love that stuff. That's the most fun I have.
You have no
whenever
idea how
it
much
comes
power
to
I feel
events.
I have. If I want something in this game, I will tell the audience.
No, I thoroughly embrace. Please do. I love our exploration goals when we've done them. Whenever we've done them before, it's been my most fun I've had doing campaigns for a long while.
Just say I'm waiting for the turtle named Dog to pop up, and then we're going
Well,
in.
and the other thing that I do think Steamforge tries to do differently is the end of the campaign isn't always the end of the campaign. So we have had previous products where, weirdly, we've unlocked things after the campaign has ended.
Yeah.
And that's as a
Which
direct
is cool as well.
result of chatting to our community. So
Let's talk about. This is a hard question. Croata, I think, said that they absolutely love Steamforged games and that you always do everything with your heart, and they are really excited about this. So had no question. They just wanted to say that they're excited.
Thank you very much.
So
That's very nice.
That's amazing.
Real stickler there, right? Okay, gaming voice. Is the focus boss battles or exploration?
Both.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think in your wonderful elevator pitch, you talked about effectively the 2 stages. You explore the world,
Yep.
you find the boss, then you have an intense boss battle. I think in terms of priority from a game experience point of view, we want them to feel pretty punchy for whatever you're doing. In terms of actual time spent, you'll spend a bit more time exploring and discovering the world. And that makes the boss fight more intense and more
our
exciting.
experience.
Yeah.
When it comes to the narrative storylines, the narrative through lines from chapter to chapter, campaign to campaign, what are, if we're talking about the version I've played so far, being the buds popping up, kind of disparate little nodes, right? What is the tangle that you're saying is going to exist? Where is this game going in terms of crisscrossing narrative lines or through lines or anything like that? And this is coming from Chad Vader.
So, in terms of, just to be super clear, do you mean in terms of what your experience has been, for example? Is there anything that's indicative there? Of how
So
the
Chad
storyline
Vader
would be,
specifically asked about, he asked about narrative storylines
Okay.
and expressed that he felt like it was a little bit lacking in Dark Souls compared to what he was looking for. So that was the reference for the question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, so something that the Dark Souls system doesn't necessarily immediately accommodate, even in the new revision where we have events which are a very discrete way of approaching those, it doesn't necessarily lend itself to an awful lot of narrative development, and that's simply because the engine just isn't necessarily built that way. It doesn't lead itself into telling you a narrative story at the same time as obviously playing the game and playing
Its
through
focus
the
is
different
combat.
encounters. Yeah, it's absolutely a game. It's absolutely that's what the focus of the game is. This is a very different beast. Even in what we've talked about and shown in the demo, like. We had a simple conversation with Patches. Hello, Patches, and immediately we got sidetracked into.
Wait, he's
I've
in?
already seen him. They don't know. They have to watch my gameplay
I thought you were
video.
talking about Ranni earlier.
Big spoilers, man.
Spoilers. Patches.
You were saying this. Sorry.
So we got distracted looking for a green triangle.
Yeah.
And that's a really good. As much as that's an anecdotal silly reference, but the point is that it goes to show we've built in a whole bunch of emergent narrative into what our quests have. There's, we've talked a bit about the sort of, I know you mentioned in previous, there's a 15 quests, sort of main focus in the main game. That's by no means the end of everything. Like that's just main quests. There's a whole bunch of side quests. There's a whole bunch of other things to do in the lands between. There's a rich tableau of stuff that you can actually just dive into in this game. And that, a lot of that is going to interact with things in a narrative way.
It's the same as a video game, isn't it? If you
Yeah.
follow the golden path, you can just bomb straight through.
Yeah,
I think,
there's a
I
bunch
think
of
the
people
gameplay
just-
is like 16 hours total if you just go straight.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
believe it's not that big.
Yeah.
And then there's
So you're missing
hundreds
out.
of hours
Yeah,
of
right.
campaigns.
You are
And-
really missing out on
And,
stuff.
and the key thing is I mean, Elden Ring is obfuscated with its lore as much as any From Software game,
Yep.
which is obviously a key thing that we won't want to break away from, because otherwise it wouldn't feel like Elden Ring is a key point.
You
But at
can't
the
say
same
too
time-
much, and yet in a board game format, you have to say a bit more than they are.
You've got it. So it's
Yes.
it's a delicate balance, but one that I think we're very much up to rising to the challenge of and have done. So.
But I think, and I think there's a mix. Is when we come down to narrative design, there's those kind of almost individual nodes that the players will put together to kind of form a story, which is a very From Software styled way of storytelling. But I also think there are narrative strings that you need to follow as well. So there will be a thing which is a beginning, a middle, and an end. You'll meet someone and say, hey, my father's gone and done this. Can you go to this place and do this for me?
Yeah.
And you will go there, and then that will lead on to other things.
Now, following up on that, a question from Jory Shen didn't find that the grinding element or the more grindy element of Dark Souls fit him as a gamer.
Yeah.
And wanted to know how this would be different, right? Because that's the biggest comparison point to a Soulsborne game that people have as reference.
So absolutely directly. This, if you have any role-playing experience, the easiest way to describe this is narrative XP as opposed to specific monster XP.
Yeah.
So you can spend between now and the end of the year fighting monsters, but when you finish that quest, you're going to get a fixed amount of runes.
Do the
They're
story
gonna
and
allow you to
grow.
level up. Yeah.
You will have noticed that we weren't at the end of any one of the combat encounters that we had in our playthrough.
Yep.
Stopping and go, right, how much XP did I get from that? How many runes did they drop? That sort of stuff.
So you're not worried about the in between as much. It's the journey and the progression and the stat buffs that you
absolutely.
get. But then once you get to the end of that cycle, that's where you take a pause and you go, what cool things did I just unlock?
And it
It's a
really
milestone
reinforces.
system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it reinforces the story nature, the narrative nature of the game, rather than the actual kill a thing, get a thing.
Yeah.
And so what some would see as like the grindy elements of Dark Souls, both as a video game and as the board
Yeah.
game, really, as far as I can tell, isn't emphasized here. You will have to probably replay some things because you'll
I
be
think you will.
dying,
Yeah.
unless you're just incredibly good or only doing magic. But I'm not sure if you have that as part of the game, but it should be. It's the only way I'm making it through Elden Ring at the moment. But other than re-exploring quests or quest lines that you came to a halt on because you just weren't prepared or were learning the logic of the puzzle, you're not going back just to gain some points.
Yeah.
Correct, absolutely correct.
Cool.
Yeah, there's a specific reason why you would want to go back and play a quest, not just to get more runes.
Yeah.
So we're down to the last few questions.
Okay.
So
God, that went quick.
Sean Smith says, inspiration from other games. What are you guys thinking about? What do you guys love when it comes to design? And what are you pulling in that there's, and I'll be the first to say this, there's some things in here that feel new, feel innovative, that I don't know of other games doing. The quest book and the way it's solo and then combines is one of those. But stepping away from that, where do you guys find your inspiration?
Do you know, it's a really hard one to pin down to individual games because we are, as a company, everybody who works at Steamforge, we are all massive gamers. We're all massive geeks, and
Literally tonight, their plan is to offer me food and just keep me here for hours playing more games.
Yeah,
That was their pitch. They're like,
yeah.
by the way, we just hang out and play games in the evening,
Pretty
so if
much.
you're interested,
Yeah.
we're around.
Yes.
Yeah, like that, and that's very much it. And I mean, Matt and I, whenever we go to somewhere like Gen Con or wherever else, we'll mark a day where our day is, let's just walk around the show
Gonna
and
learn
check out
some
stuff.
demos,
And it's,
see some cool
and
things.
yeah, and it absolutely is literally just what's there. And then we'll break away at the end of that particular day and we'll sit down with everyone else and go, hey guys, what did you see that was cool at the show? That's half a day of chatting about. It should be like probably a debrief of, well, let's talk about what went well and what didn't go well at Gen Con or whatever else. But actually, it very quickly descends into, this was really cool. We should totally check this out.
And I
when
think
it comes out.
we see things and we absorb them. So,
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
the quest book, well, look, we've played Jaws of the Lion. Brilliant game.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. And loved it.
And
that
they,
was actually played.
and they found that from Plaid Hat.
Correct, from Twisted Fables. And also there's a whole range of spiral-bound D&D map books out there that you can plug together.
Which is like the first source.
So now you're looking at these and you're seeing it in
So
3 or 4 different places.
If we're stepping away from direct inspiration, what are you guys loving then when it comes to board games? What are you just really enjoying outside of, in the hobby right now?
Oh, what?
Old,
playing?
new, whatever, yeah.
Oh, dude, so there's 2 games.
'Kay.
So our new squeeze and our old squeeze. So our old squeeze
Our old
is,
squeeze will never go away.
it
Yeah?
will never go away. Star Trek Ascendancy
Love that
is
game.
Never played
our
it.
de facto go-to game, and we believe we play it at a higher level than has ever existed.
That's cool.
We've
we-
probably
we-
sunk about 250 hours into that.
So the
Oh,
next time I
minimum.
visit, we're prioritizing a gameplay
I mean,
of
there,
that.
are,
Is
there
that
are copies of that in that room.
Yeah.
amazing?
we might even roll it out tonight
Yeah,
if you fancy it. Yeah, for sure.
But, yeah, we have probably played that game more than the people who made the game.
Yeah.
At this point, but we have become this terrifying shark tank of Star Trek.
We're not playing on the table level anymore. Now we're getting
That's
mind
cool,
games
though.
and everything.
Yeah,
And our new squeeze is War Room, which just got
Yeah.
delivered, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, so
we
good.
are possibly getting together for a big Christmas bash. The whole dev team, that'll be an entertaining
We'll do a
mess.
global war. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that'd be
I
great.
like the vibe of the group you have.
Yeah,
It seems like there's some negotiation.
And
they
this
cut
is the
through
point
it.
where you see we are massive geeks. Back
Yeah.
to my original point.
No,
Yeah.
it's a super cool group because we are all really competitive and yet very good friends, and with that comes the ability to absolutely sledge the heck out of each other.
Well, yeah, and also we're British, so you have no idea how
Yeah.
we could barrack someone if you're British.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
It's true. So the last few questions here are more logistics things.
Sure,
You're welcome
sure.
to dive into them, but we can also sprint through them if you want.
Yeah.
Okay.
I already know the answer to this question.
Okay, sure.
I'm asking it because I think people are going to be looking for or curious about an answer.
Okay.
You'll understand what I'm saying as soon as I ask. Coming from Throwaway, commented, "Let me solo her?" ?
Let me answer this one.
You do it.
Not yet, but We absolutely. I mean, that's probably a great name for the solo mode of the game.
That's actually kind of but there's a good reason why not. Like, are we able to go into that a bit?
Well, we need to have the boss to start with.
Right.
Yeah, like
The time is not yet.
we're venturing into. You all are doing what I think is the responsible thing when it comes to tackling something like Elden Ring. You're not swallowing the whole pig.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you're not. You're taking a leg and you're saying this is going to be delicious,
Yeah.
and then we're going to work our way up. Let Me Solo Her is really integral to the lore.
Yeah.
I think no one is shy of that, and really supported by the Soulsborne community and the Soulsborne team.
Absolutely.
That being said, it's not part of this story.
Not yet,
No.
but we are also very receptive to the community. We're very receptive to understanding the sort of stuff that really makes We've done lots of things with our games where people really look at small details and go, okay, so these guys know what we're talking about. There's the Resident Evil example that you always pull out.
I love
the
it,
cards, which makes me chuckle. Which, if you have the time, is in Resident Evil 2. If you stand in front of Wesker's desk and search it 50 times, the 51st time you click it. Yeah, you get a special card, a special file, right?
Yeah.
In our retro pack version of Resident Evil 2, the 51st card in the actual deck is a file, which is literally just that card.
That's fun.
Has no in-game use whatsoever, but you can literally pull it as your 51st search of that deck.
We're kind of nerdy,
Yeah.
I love
but
that.
we love it. But we love it when we see it in other games as well.
Yeah, so stuff like
And
that.
then all the people
for
that don't know it
example,
are
we'll
like-
throw in there. Yeah, you wouldn't believe the amount of questions I get from custom sort where I get someone going, never asked about that picture again. But yeah.
Nice. All right. Language options. Do we have a sense of that yet? I know this is a hard
So
scaling
Kickstarter for us is always English only.
Yeah.
And that keeps our development and our production a lot simpler.
SKUs are brutal.
Yeah.
They are brutal, but it's not necessarily in terms of just the sort of the physical side of it and the ordering side of it, but it's the complication it brings to the development and the production side of things. So we work with, and we also want to make sure that when we do localize a product, it's truly localized and not just translated. So we work with our local partners in each territory to then work on localized versions. So that is ongoing conversations that we are having and yet to have.
Yeah.
So I can't really answer that with
So
other than
there's a chance it gets localized. It's just immediately Kickstarter.
subject to each territory. So there is
of course.
a possibility.
Wileyander asked about the character build, specifically after you've built your character, is there an option to restat allocate later in the game, or is the character you're going through the stats that you have, the stats that you stick with?
I think so. There's two stages to the way that you advance your character. So one of them revolves around your I guess your primary attributes, for want of a better expression. Those are the ones that change your effect deck. So they're the ones that give you extra effects or more powerful ones or whatever.
they're primarily
variety of it.
scaling for your weapons.
The other ones are the more sort of secondary style attributes: vigor, endurance. I always forget the other one.
Arcane, vigor, endurance, and you made me forget mind.
Mind. It slipped mine. And those we have abstracted into a trait-based system. And the traits actually allow you to sort of customize the core mechanics of your character. So those are very easy to retool because they are on a slot basis. So if you have 3 and you want to change to a different one, you can just change to a different one. If you want to go to another level of one, though, then you're going to need to pay the extra to do it. So, I don't know if I'd want to. We haven't thought about whether you can retool an effect deck.
We've been playing around
official retool, but it shouldn't be impossible.
Yeah.
No, we've been playing around with ideas of whether you can effectively build a library of your effect deck. So if you put in a card, you always have, let's say, 12 effect deck cards.
Oh, when you deck build it out.
And when you deck build it out, and that obviously gives you some degree of a bank of cards you can switch in and out. So that side of things, again, that's the sort of thing you would lock in post Kickstarter to see. Yeah, once you've heard some chat to the community a bit.
It's a really good example of clearly we don't have a finished solution to that, or we have a number of ideas. That's the sort of thing that we want to see. Is it important to the community? Is it something we do need to work with?
It's a really good example of that.
Well, second to last here, coming from Phalanx167.
Know him well.
Yeah, lovely work.
Retail
Nice Phalanx.
retail availability / Kickstarter exclusives. What's going on with this campaign? What can we expect to be limited to Kickstarter if you want to get in now and you get access to it, versus the people that maybe don't have the cash on hand immediately?
So I'm going to tell you the
Are they going to be able to get
specifics. I want to
this?
tell you about the philosophy. So we work clearly with distribution partners and more importantly our retail partners. And what we want to make sure that the products that we take to retail are sensible choices for them to stock. We want to give them product that they are going to be able to sell.
You're saying a pallet for a single game is not a responsible choice for a company
I don't think
to
so,
stock.
and neither do I. Actually think that a standalone, an expansion that requires a core set is also always the most responsible thing to for us to share, because if they don't have the core set, that thing isn't going to sell unless they're very lucky. So we do think very carefully about what is sensible and how can we be a good partner to our partners on the front line, for want of a better expression. So we are looking at making sure that those expansions that aren't going to go to retail are available to those retail partners who want to, but they're going to be available direct and via the Kickstarter, obviously.
Cool. And just to clarify, you'll
I
have
can do specifics if you want.
You can do specifics.
you'll have
The box.
do some specifics, because
Okay,
there
well,
are
obviously-
some Kickstarter exclusive stuff.
Yeah.
There's reason to be involved.
For a start,
Definitely.
the box. I mean, obviously, value is always one, and that's just a flat Kickstarter answer.
Yep.
But the Kickstarter exclusive boxes, we talked about those earlier. That's a massive driver. I mean, those things are super, super, super cool. There are 2 Kickstarter exclusive expansions.
Cool.
Which will be Dragon Egg Gill and also, Flying Dragon Egg Gill, get the name right,
Okay.
and also the Tree Avatar. And then
Very cool.
there's obviously the exploration goals, and I'll leave it there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Get involved.
Please
Shape
do
the
get
game.
involved. I'm
And
looking
then you
forward to you
have-
shaping those.
And then you have a mini
We do.
right at the
We do
top.
indeed.
His name is Iron Fist.
Yeah.
And he looks like an absolute boss.
Cool.
I love that model so much.
Yeah.
That might be my favourite in the range.
And very easy to paint.
I'll take your word for it. I haven't had the 3D print yet.
And then the last question
The question.
coming from JVR6, development time. How long have you been working on this? Playtest time. Where are you in the cycle of like getting this into people's hands to start figuring out where it breaks? Because that's always part of a development process.
Yep.
And then what's your estimated delivery time? What are we looking at when it comes to what you're telling the Kickstarter audience and why the numbers that you have, right? There was a lot of people that were asking, I didn't pull all the questions, there was a few people that were certainly asking, like, how do you have this launching so soon after the video game came into existence?
Because we've been working on it for 3 years.
Yeah.
The simple answer is, we didn't start when the video game landed.
Yeah. We have signed NDAs with the strongest of ink and the sternest of pens. And the benefit of that is we've got to work on this for quite some time.
Yeah.
We don't take a game to Kickstarter until we are certain that the game experience is what we want it to be, until we are certain that we have an accurate and deliverable roadmap for the remaining work and the production cycle. So we know that when this Kickstarter finishes, 18 months is the time that we're going to be.
So we're 3
delivering.
years into this in terms of figuring out and whiteboard scribbling and getting something that's playable.
Yeah.
Where are we when it comes to playtesting? At what cycle in your company's process are we when it comes to getting people sitting down in front of it?
So we've done a lot with our internal groups and our closed
externals as
groups.
well now,
and now we're starting with the external
Cool.
side of things. So I think the really interesting thing, and this is probably a much longer conversation, but the thing with playtesting is it's important for us to, we use waves, rolling waves. So rather than everything and we get a whole heap of feedback, we'll put something out, we'll get some feedback, we'll put out an A, a B, we'll see what we get back, we'll put C and a D out, and then we'll just keep rolling it out. And we use internal, closed into like our friends and family, and then we'll then use
Going
our
more
externals.
external as it becomes more and more public and more and more
honestly,
available.
as you suggested, this is like a whole big interview in itself in terms of playtesting and other bits and pieces.
Yeah, I'd love to do that as well. That'd be an interesting chat, talk about playtesting strategy.
Totally open to it. I don't think our
let's do it.
cameramen want to stay though.
No.
Maybe not tonight.
It's a simple one. It's a
We'll
simple
get
one
there,
that's
we'll get
slightly
there.
off subject.
And then following up with that, you quickly mentioned about 18 months is the timeline you're looking at.
Yeah.
Now, with the shipping crisis and the chaos that's happened, that's starting to stabilize now, and everyone's getting a better
is.
sense of their numbers.
Yep.
So explain to me that timeline. And we've talked off camera a bit about this, so I can go into this conversation knowing that as a philosophy of a company, you approach Kickstarter as a way that allows fans and communities to have an impact on the game you're creating, which means there is some development time afterwards to playtest and refine and listen to the stuff that the community is saying that they want or they desire, or maybe it isn't clicking with them. So talk about that 18 months and what that looks like from launch to finish.
Yeah. So and being fairly reductive about it, in simple terms, there are two aspects of the games that are really important to consider. One is the actual miniatures, and one is the rest of the content. So the miniatures take the longest amount of time on a production side of things.
I have a full interview with your lead sculptor, your lead designer.
Russ,
He walked me through the timeline on getting something finished like this, and just the sheer amount of weeks on end it takes going back and forth and reiterating and checking for those little details. It's a very interesting, we won't get into it now, but you're saying that miniatures and this sculpting is one of the largest development cycles.
Well, it's one of the largest development cycles, but it's also one of the largest production cycles. So molding takes a heck of a long time. But then there's also the back and two, because you're getting into really interesting things like plastic temperature and flow dynamics. It's actually way more interesting than I'm pretending it is. I'm kind of nerdy, I like that stuff. But there's a lot of back and two on that, but that's the longest timeline. So we front load getting the sculpts done.
Cool.
It also actually happens when we come to Kickstarter. We can show the actual models. That's kind of cool as well. So there's two primary reasons why we make sure that we've got the sculpts good to go.
Okay.
And if we choose to add sculpts, they are much smaller in number, and therefore it's within the tolerances we have.
You have the 100 plus.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at what the extra dozen-ish.
Dozen,
you might
let's go with dozen. Baker's dozen. But then the other side of it, which is the development side of things in terms of the gameplay, laying out the cards, getting the rules right, getting everything else, getting the balance, getting the experience done. We have a much shorter production time on that, so that means we have a lot more time on the development side. So we use a fairly classic project development pipeline. Design, development, test, polish, then it goes off. So we are in development in some areas, and we are in polish in other areas. So we stagger it. It's not all at one. Everything flows through.
It's a series of sprints.
Cool.
That's the way of saying it.
That's a conversation.
Those are
the questions that I have. Hopefully that wasn't too painful for you all. Hopefully you all enjoyed this. My thought process is, if you are interested in conversations like this where you all lead where the conversation goes, totally interested in continuing doing these. So make sure you leave a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts, opinions. Feel free to ask more questions. I'm sure the guys in the team will be paying attention to it. Granted, they're also going to be running a Kickstarter, so they're not going to respond in my comments, but the echo of the community will probably be informing the updates they do and all the other things.
Oh, definitely. And we spend a lot of time in the,
project,
obviously during the Kickstarter, we're in the comment section a lot. So if you want to have a chat with us and hang out, that's a really good place to be.
Cool. Yeah, come and hang out on our journey. Enjoy the exploration stuff.
Definitely.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. We have so much content coming out for this. I'm insanely excited. Whatever the case, whatever you do, remember to do the important thing. Get out and play some games. See you next time.